Hello gardeners, it's me, Miss Mandy. I'm here at the school again, just tending to the raised beds today. I planted a few new things in your raised beds, which I decided that I was going to designate this raised bed for all things that you eat. All sorts of vegetables, mostly vegetables, some greens in here. So I'll kind of go through and show you what I've planted today. These are some cucumbers. These are cucumbers that Garden Club on Monday that you guys planted. So I didn't have space in at my home. So some of these are actually gonna start flowering. And so for those of you that know how the life cycle of a plant works, they first flower, then a bee or some sort of insect will come over and pollinate it, and then after they're pollinated, they produce fruit, which is usually your vegetables. So this here is a cucumber. Now I've noticed that there's sunflowers in here. I also planted some kale. Oh, here's the kale. Little teeny guy. So that's your leafy green. I love kale in my garden because it doesn't take a whole lot of work to get it going. Over here, I've got a type of a squash. I'm not sure what type of squash I planted, but I planted some white pumpkins, some zucchini squash, and some acorn squash for us to do a vegetable study in the fall. So I've got some here, and I planted some over in the butterfly garden as well. And then here is something very different. It looks like a piece of grass, doesn't it? Maybe that'll be our extra area of study today. But this is actually corn, believe it or not. So I've got another one here, and I've planted, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 plants of corn here, but in our butterfly garden, I think I planted 12 additional plants of corn. So if you get a chance, come and look for those at the school. This is one of those zucchini squashes. So these are little round ones, but you can see, if you can see that, see if I can focus in, those are little flower buds. So we'll have some food in this garden box. Now over in this garden box, we've got some great big plants. Look how tall that is. It's about 1 foot tall. And would you believe it? Those are your sunflowers. So we'll have lots of sunflowers for the birds. These are kind of they're wet on top, which is why they're bending over like that. Because I just got done watering these garden boxes because I just got done planting all sorts of new plants in here. This is called a Cosmo, and I planted a lot of plants that are flowers in here. So then we can do all sorts of art projects with them when we all come back in the fall. This is what you call a calendula. And what else is in here? It looks like, now I didn't plant these, but they're getting ready to flower. But this is a chamomile, just like the tea. So if you get a chance and you're down here and you see these flowers, then be sure to harvest them. And they smell really, really nice. Also, I noticed while I was here, look at those tendrils. And look at these great big leaves. Now, I remember, I believe it was Garden Club on Mondays again. You guys planted some great big some really big round seeds, which were pea seeds. And look, this is your peas, almost ready to flower. So there's a few of these. So look for these if you come over to the school. And what I also noticed was, now this is that maple that's in the corner at your school, that great big maple. But you know what? Look, there's where the hoses are. But if you come over here, and maybe if you're walking around in your neighborhood, you can look for these flowers. These are actually, who would have thought, a tree flowers, but these are maple flowers. And it's nice to have maples in a garden because our early pollinators, like some of our bees that live in the ground, our mason bees, they use these flowers as a source of nectar. So all plants have their purpose, all flowers have their purpose. So give it a look when you're walking around the neighborhood. Try to see if you can see a maple tree which has this type of leaf. This is a vine maple, which is a native maple. And look for its flowers. And here we are in the strawberry patch. So, highlighting this sign here that you guys have made. One of the older classes, it looks like in 2012, I believe it's 2012. You guys made this sign and it's all about the strawberry patch, which is a great life cycle of the different life stages that your strawberries go through to make your fruit. So we start with the flower, and then it looks like somebody put a baby berry, and then a young berry, and then a ripe berry. And if I hold still enough, maybe I'll see a bee buzzing around to pollinate these flowers. But let's see if there's your young strawberry right here. And what do you know? There is your young berry. And right beside it looks like there's a baby berry. So lots of things to look at and pay attention to, of course. But look, we've got 3 little leaflets on your strawberries. And then it looks like from here I've got how many petals there? Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 little petals on there. So I like to pay attention to those things because sometimes it's nice to know what flower is what. And that's how you can tell, is by counting their petals, their stamens, sometimes looking at their leaves, but it's mostly about that flower. Hello, gardeners. So for today, for our supplemental educational material, I've made some tree guides for you all. They'll be submitted in a PDF version and they should be sent to emails. And if you can't get them, I think if you reach out to the Haug Foundation, we can send you these tree guides. But this is just 3 different trees or large shrubs that are flowering right now that you can find when you go walking around with your parents. This is my favorite time of year because there is so many things in bloom right now. Lots of fragrances and lots of color in our trees. So we don't really think to look up for flowers. And there's tons of flowering trees right now. So the first one that I have here is a dogwood. And right next to it, that's its flower. Now this flower can come in white or this pink. And something to note about the dogwood is that, so it looks like there's 4 petals there on that flower, but those are not petals. They're petal imposters. the flowers are actually right there in the middle, and it's in a big cluster. So that would be the dogwood. There is a dogwood test too, because dogwoods are actually also perennials, herbaceous perennials, not only trees. Some are also shrubs that you can find. But the test that you can do is actually fold that leaf in half and gently pull the leaf apart. And you'll see these teeny tiny strings that you can only see with like a magnifying glass that hold that leaf together. So that's how you can tell what a dogwood is if you're out in the field. Our next flowering shrub, which is kind of like a small tree, you could say, is the lilac. Now these are very fragrant and they bloom for quite a while, but you'll see these lined in the streets. They come in shades of pink, and I want to say that there's shades of white lilacs, but you'll have to look for it because I can't quite remember. Here's a close-up of the flower. Now those are true petals on the flower, and they're very fragrant. So look for this one when you're walking about with your family. So you got what the whole plant looks like, then a close-up of the flowers. This is our last tree, flowering tree, that's on our list of things to look for when you go walking around in the neighborhood. This isn't a favorite of mine. It's an old favorite. It's called a redbud. And this one reminds me of home because it is a native tree back where I used to live in the Midwest. So it flowers on the old wood, which is unique for some plants and trees. So sometimes you'll see it flowering on the lower parts of the trunk of the plant. And it has teeny tiny flowers. It usually has flowers before it leaves out. So this would be the flowers to look for. So what I would look for with this is 2 petals that stick up, or 3 petals that stick up, and then almost like a cupping petal that's downward on that flower, almost like a mouth. And so you can also kind of see, so it's the older wood. Let's see if I can put my finger in here. This here is the older wood. This is the younger wood. You see there's a few leaves up here. And like I said, it only produces flowers on the older wood. So just to give you a recap, so you've got the redbud that's on your list of trees to find, the lilac, which is a flowering shrub or a small tree, and then the dogwood with the 4 bracts is another one to look for. All right, happy tree hunting, gardeners, and thank you all for listening.